Welcome to Money, Manifestation, and Business, the podcast that shows you how to use your energy, intention, and consciousness to reprogram your money mindset, unleash a new level of possibility, and create a life and business that lights you up. I'm your host, Jamie Berman, and I invite you to join me each week for a dose of inspiration, coaching, and teachings to help you rewrite your money story, create abundance on your terms, and grow your business in a way that's fully aligned for you. This is going to be so much fun. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the podcast, my friend. Excited to have you back. And we're shifting things up. We're going to do a different kind of episode today, but I know you're going to love it because this episode is going to help unpack some of my very favorite universal laws. And universal laws are laws of the universe, right? Literally. It's like gravity, right? If you think about gravity, it just works. It works for everyone. It works 100% of the time. It doesn't judge who you are. It doesn't matter if it thinks you're worthy or not, right? Gravity works. It just works no matter what. If you are a human, it works for you. And these universal laws also are the same way. Now, when it comes to manifestation, there are many different universal laws, but I wanted to unpack two of my favorites on this episode. But what was actually quite fun is I was going back through old material, and I actually have this, what shall we call it? I like to think of it as the Netflix of manifestation. I have a course, it's called the Quantum Cashflow Library, where I have put so many of my past best workshops. And we put them all together into a library where you can literally binge them. And that is where I go through so many of the foundations of manifestation and so many of the universal laws. And you can literally just listen to all of it on repeat. There's over 25 1-hour workshops on there and different calls and different, we dive in deep. And so I was going back through this and I'm like, oh my gosh, this material is so good. Yes, I may have recorded it a couple of years ago and I share examples from a couple of years ago, but wow, this stuff works. And there's so much evidence of it because I could see my past self who had just manifested my condo in Hawaii. And since then, I've already sold that condo and moved into a house in Hawaii. So it's just amazing to see these universal laws work when you work them. And so I'm unpacking two different ones from these past workshops that I had. So I wanted to put them on the podcast, just clips that I think are going to be really powerful for you. So this is an episode where you might want to get out your journal, take a couple notes, and actually implement what I'm teaching because it works if you work it. So the first universal law that I'm going to dive into is all about the law of courageous action. And I wanted to broadcast that on the podcast because I think it's one that people get really confused about when it comes to manifestation. They think manifestation is just simply about visualizing and matching your energy to that desire. But energy is found in action. So courageous action is actually part of the manifestation process. You have to move in order to get where you want to go. So I'm going to unpack that in this clip right here. So today's topic, this one is a really, really important one whenever it comes to manifestation. And it's not the one that's taught the most often. It's also not the one our ego likes that much, to be honest with you. Right? Because it's all about taking courageous and inspired action. All right. So I'm going to dive even deeper into this whole concept. And for those of you who have been with me, you know this, but we got to dive into it because it's a piece that we're missing so often. And I wanted to just touch on different ways to look at this. How do we take action, right? Because there is a law of action. It is a universal law. And I think it's important for us to recognize, for those of us who have studied a little manifestation or might have read books on it or watched The Secret, the documentary, The Secret, we think that it's just law of attraction. But manifestation is so much more than that. There are way more universal laws than just law of attraction. That is just one, right? But there's also a law of action that states that we must take action towards our goals in order to create them, right? We must take action towards our future, right? Like with this condo, there's no way that I could have manifested this had I taken no action. And the way that I like to think of it is taking courageous action. Because in order to become something that we've never become before, in order to create something we've never created before, at least maybe we've created something similar, right? But like maybe it's like in this exact time doing this thing, we've never done this before. And in order to do that, we are paving a way that we don't have in front of us. That's why I think entrepreneurs are so amazing, because we don't have certainty. Not that like other people do, they just have this false certainty, right? Like people who work at businesses or companies, right, who work for someone else, it's a false sense of certainty, thinking like, oh, it's certain, I have this job, I show up, I do these things and I get paid. That could always end. I mean, but with entrepreneurship, right, where it's like we don't even have that false sense of safety. We have to create our own safety. And so what I was getting at with this is that as entrepreneurs, it's the ultimate in personal growth. It is the ultimate in spiritual growth. It is the ultimate in emotional growth. We have to grow our capacities so much in order to grow in business. And growing, what do we know about growing, right? As kids, like there are growing pains. Doing something we've never done before doesn't feel good all the time. It can feel really scary. It can bring up nerves. Just like whenever I was coaching yesterday, if y'all saw yesterday, where we were coaching on, doing this big art show after like being out of that world for a while. That's not supposed to feel good. It's like, that's a new experience, a new thing that we haven't done in a while. Our brain is not confident at it yet. And that's so much of business. It's what we're doing on a daily basis, really. It's like, we're like trying new things that we don't know are going to work or not, right? We are putting ourselves out there. We are the ones in the arena, right? Like I love Brene Brown's book where she has that quote about like the woman in the arena. That's us. We are the humans in the arena. And it doesn't feel good all the time to be in the arena. And there's such a misconception in the manifestation world that I've heard, or people have gotten like so much coaching from me around of like, oh my gosh, I'm not high vibe today. Like I'm not feeling really positive and really good. And in the energy of it is done. So I don't believe it's going to happen. And what I want to say is, oh my gosh, like, don't even worry about it. You're in the arena. Of course you don't feel that all the time. But what we want to do is just tap into that when we can. And then what we have to learn is how to hold space for that messy middle, that part right in the middle where we have the vision of what we want. And then we have who we are now. We don't really have the exact path, but we're trying out different things. We're becoming that person. We're changing our thoughts. We're changing our identity. We're changing how we show up in the world. We're testing out new things. We're trying new things we've never done before that we're not confident in. Of course, we're going to have a lot of feelings. Of course, it's going to feel vulnerable and it's going to feel scary and it's going to feel nervous. And I have to say that's a part of the manifestation journey. Taking courageous action. Courage doesn't mean fearless, right? It's like it's having the fear and doing it anyways, being scared, but taking the leap, right? So this is so important whenever it comes to you and this creation process, is really making peace with this being a part of the journey. And this is why we all need coaches. And we all need someone holding our hand and supporting us and believing in us and seeing the vision when we can't see it for ourselves. It's everything that can make or break it, because our primitive brain wants to give up the minute we feel discomfort, right? That's why if we're doing big things and we're going after big things and we're manifesting, we got to have support. It's a must. So if your primitive brain is telling you that, oh, I'll wait on that. Oh, that's scary. I don't know. I'm going to wait in the future, right? Like, just question it, because having support is a part of receiving. And this journey is not always going to feel high vibe all the time. That's why we want someone there holding space and holding the vision with us, holding the belief with us, right? Yeah. Courage doesn't mean fearlessness. It totally, yeah, right. It's like, we're going to have fear, but we have to go overcome that. Of course, when we're manifesting, every single thing that I have done and that I've manifested has come along with nerves and fear. And like, even right before I'm going to do it, whenever it kind of makes sense to go for it, like getting this condo, it was so scary because my brain's like, wait, what if it doesn't work out? What if we can't afford it? What, right? Like all the what ifs come in. Of course, because it's a big identity shift. And the whole journey of creating my first $100,000, I had to put myself out there so much. I had to take courageous action again and again and again. And I was talking to last week on one of the workshop calls where we had open coaching. I was saying how I did project rejection. Like my first $100,000, I realized I have to learn how to process the feeling of rejection. Now, in the world of manifestation, would you think that that's a high vibe emotion that's going to, attract whatever it is you want? Normally not, but yes, it is. Because if you get good at feeling that emotion, that makes you an energetic match to somebody who's making $100,000. Because if you're making $100,000, you have to be willing to experience the emotion of rejection. You have to. You've got to over again, right? So that's what I want you all to be thinking about is taking courageous action and where you're holding yourself back and waiting until you feel ready, waiting until it feels comfortable to do it. Like, think about that. What area of your business, of your life, of support are you waiting on? Are you like, I'll wait until it doesn't feel like the right time, right? These kind of thoughts are really just your primitive brain, like not wanting to take courageous action, not wanting to lean into and be in the arena. And so the way that I like to look at courageous action and inspired action too, because when we're manifesting, we will get a lot of inspired actions that we want to act on. So I always say together, right? It's either going to be a courageous action or an inspired action. But the way that I like to think about it is taking action from my future self. And you've all created a vision for who your future self is. Like you felt that version of you on Monday, right? If you were with me on Monday or if you watched the replay, we did a little meditation. You felt that one. Like I said, we want to develop a relationship with that version of us because that's the version of us we want to start acting from. Not our present day self with our present day thoughts and our present day brain. Because when we act from just our present day, we only create more of what we currently have. So I shared an example of how recently I hired a new team member to help with copy, like a great copywriter, because that's something that I'm excited to delegate. And I told my friend, I hired her from my future self because this makes no sense to invest this amount of money right here, right now with what I've got. It just doesn't make sense. But yet I know because I talk to my future self and I'm like, hey, what's the thing that's going to help me get to you closer? And it's taking this piece off of my plate so that I can actually start my podcast, right? Like, that's what I want to do. I want to be sharing my podcast. So it's like, okay, so far I have had a lot of things on my plate where I would have had to work more hours and I didn't want to do that. That's not what my future self does. So I asked her, I'm like, okay, what's the next thing that I can do to get closer to you? Because I know you have a podcast. And it was such a clear answer. And I invested from that place and I invested in somebody really great. And I made that investment from her, not from the current me. Looking at the numbers, does this make sense? Of course you keep it into mind. You're not going to do something outrageous, right? You want to use a little bit of logic, but you also want to use intuition and you want to check in with your future self and think about it's a courageous action. You have to use logic and courage. Logic and faith. That's what manifesting is all about. And the other thing I want you all to be thinking about that. Let me read what you have to say. Yeah, right. The primitive brain goes into confusion in order to not take action. Totally normal, right? That's like the primitive brain's way of keeping you, quote unquote, safe, because it knows, ooh, if I get Allison into confusion, that means she's not going anywhere, right? Like that, she gives into confusion, right? So like, as long as you give into it and you believe you're confused and you let that stop you from taking action, your brain will keep giving you confusion to keep you, quote unquote, safe. The brain just wants us to be safe. And the brain is like, the primitive brain is like, okay, up until now, we have survived. So let's just keep doing what we've been doing and not go any further, because we might die if we do something new, right? That's how the primitive brain thinks. So it's like, let's bring in confusion to keep you safe. But the other thing about the primitive brain is that it's worried about and concerned with surviving, not thriving. So that's why we have to learn to understand our primitive brain, but act from our higher brain. And acting from our higher brain feels uncomfortable. It feels courageous. It feels scary sometimes. It's a lot of trust. It's a lot of leap. It's a lot of taking an act of faith, right? So that's manifesting. If you can get this down, you are golden, y'all. You are so golden. Yeah, so good. I'm glad that helps you today. Let me see. Lauren says, yes, felt this with my relationship. Felt scary and lots of uncertainty, right? My brain wanted to run from the discomfort, but glad I didn't. So good. So true. Yes. Anything that's like new and uncertain, our brain is like, nope, let's like create some confusion. Let's whatever it is that your brain tries to do to protect, let's run, right? So that we won't do it. So get to know your brain's pattern. Like, what does your brain do when you are thinking of taking a leap or thinking of like moving into that next level or that next identity, but your brain gets scared? What does it do to prevent you and try to keep you safe? Understanding that is so powerful, because then you don't have to give into it. This is my opportunity. I have to learn how to hold space for confusion and decide I'm not confused and go for something, even if I'm not certain, because I'll never be certain. So good. I love this. Awesome, Allison. Amazing, amazing. The other thing that I wanted to share, is that also the biggest lesson in manifestation, the hardest part, and I've talked about this throughout this week, is like we have to believe in the unseen. And that is so difficult for the way our mind works. It is so difficult to believe in the unseen, right? And our brain wants to say, but yeah, and what if it doesn't work out in this and that, right? Like it creates a lot of scaredness for our brain. But that is where like one of the biggest muscles that you can really, like, if you get good at this and practicing this muscle, which is the faith muscle, you will be good to go. You will create the life of your dreams. If you practice what we've been practicing this week, you can create the life of your dreams and more than you could ever conceive of. Right? So think about that for yourself. What is a courageous action that might be like, I want you to just be thinking about this week. You may not know right now, but what's a courageous action that you could take that's going to move you closer to your future self? How can you start going to your future self to check in with that version of you of like, oh, is this the right thing to do? Would you do this? Is this going to get me closer to you or further from you? That's always a good question. And then whenever I'm making decisions, it makes it a lot easier. I have to hold space for fear, of course, and uncertainty for sure, and rely on a lot of faith. But like, I've just gotten a lot better at making decisions from my future self and like trusting that like it's going to work out. And if you want to share your favorite takeaway from today, or if there was something that landed for you, you can share that in the group as well. We are on our last day tomorrow. So excited. I will see y'all then. Bye, everyone. All right, friend, I'm back. I hope you enjoyed that clip of me diving in and ranting on the power of courageous action. So, my friend, it is time to get into action. I hope this gave you some really good ideas for your next evolution of your life and your business. Now, the next clip that I'm diving into is all about my other favorite universal law. And when I say my other favorite, they're all my favorites, but these are two that I really do love. And the second one is all about the law of divine compensation. And what I love about this universal law is it's one that once I started to understand it, I was able to never really worry about money again. It gave me peace and, hey, this is how compensation works. This is how money works in business. If you want to make more money, here's what you do. Here's the universal law. So we're going to dive into that in the next clip. But before we do, I just want to mention, if you want more of this content, and if you actually would love to get that entire Quantum Cashflow Library with over 25 videos, right? These are just clips pulled from the workshops and videos that I did. But if you want the full teachings and to see me coaching behind the scenes and to dive into other universal laws and actually, get the full calls of these clips, you can do that. I'm going to link the Quantum Cashflow Library into my show notes. And again, this is kind of like the Netflix of manifestation. It's where I take all of my best past workshops, challenges, master classes, retreats, teachings, and put them all in one place where you can binge them. And you are going to absolutely love it. Just listening to it is going to shift your energy. If you like this podcast, it's really a way to take it to the next level and go deeper. And because you're a podcast listener, I want to give you 20% off of the Quantum Cashflow Library if you grab it. So you can use the discount code podcast20, and you will get 20% off of the Quantum Cashflow Library. So head on over to the show notes and grab that. I know you're going to love it and you're going to want to binge it, and it's going to shift your energy in such a big way. Okay, let's move on to the next clip about the law of divine compensation. So the law of compensation, that's what we're talking about today. So get out your journals, open your minds, open your brains, because this is a good one. And literally, I want you all to think, I never have to worry about money again. I never have to worry where money comes from again, because I'm learning right here, right now. This should be such a relief. Now, what is the law of compensation? The law of compensation states that it's basically an energetic return. The law of compensation is the energetic return of your cumulative actions. All right. I know that's kind of like, wait, what? So to put it very basic and very simple, what you put out into the world, you get back. So it's like what you give, you get compensated for. And the money manifestation movement, we talk about the law of giving and receiving, and I dive deep into that. And it's very similar to that, right? So what you put out, you get back in return. It's a universal law. So that's why it's so important that we don't want to hold ourselves back so much in business from giving. That's why we stay poor. That's why we stay broke. That's why we don't hit our goals and make the money that we want, because we get so stuck into perfectionist mode. We get so stuck in confusion. We get so in our heads about doing it right, doing it perfect, having the perfect funnel, doing it exactly the way that sells, right? Like all of these things, we get so stuck in that we're in our heads. We're not giving. It doesn't freaking matter. Like if you're doing it right or perfect. I mean, look at how I show up. I just oh, this was a good idea. Let's offer it. Let me give it, right? Some of it doesn't make any sense in terms of the rhythm of how I do things, but I'm like, this is an inspired action. This sounds fun. I'm going to go give it because I know I'm going to get a return. I just know it. And that's not really even my reason for giving. For me, even my reason for giving is because it makes me feel good. So right there is the law of compensation happening in real time, where I give and I instantly get a return because I feel better. I personally get kind of depressed whenever I'm like stuck, not doing anything, not in my community, not serving, not coaching. I feel like I'm not living my life purpose. And then I feel much more depleted, much less energy. And which is funny because you wouldn't think that, considering I'm I'm more of an introverted person for sure. I love my downtime. I love my alone time. I'm not someone who likes to be around people 24/7. But if I am not in service, I can feel depleted. And whenever I'm here, and especially with all of you in a big group, I get so much energy from it. It's nuts, right? So there it is right there. That's just proof that the law of compensation, like even if there's not a financial gain, I get lit up, I get energy, I feel alive, right? And that's like better than any amount of money. But same whenever it comes to money, right? It's like you will get the return of the value that you put out into the world. So if you are giving value, you will get money in return. It's a law, right? It's a universal law. So like, peeps, stop getting confused about how money is created. If you're not making money, you just got to give more. You got to put more out there. And yes, generator vibes. I love it. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. I love you all so much. But yeah, it's like, so if you're not making the money you want, it just means that you have to put more value out into the world. You got to get out of your head. You got to stop acting like it's a big deal or something that's really hard to do. It's not hard. If you get out of your head and do it imperfectly, you'll make tons of money, right? I always say perfectionists under-earn, like hands down, right? This is a lot of the work that we do in my coaching containers is let go of perfectionism, because if you're in perfectionism, you think it's going to help your business. No, you're massively under-earning and, what's the word? You're not living your potential, right? You're sucking your potential whenever you are in perfectionism, trying to get it right, all that stuff. You are just keeping yourself broke. All right. So yeah, 100%. Yes. We can use that for a post, Daniela. I love it. I love it. Okay. So I want to dive deeper into this. Okay. So if you think of it, and what's fun about this law, like the law of compensation, is it's like, it's a mirror. It's totally like a mirror. You will always get what you give, right? So you attract more of what you already are. So if you tend to be a jealous person, you're going to attract that. If you tend to be a kind person, you will attract that. And by the way, side note, if you want to get really good at manifesting stuff, one thing that you can do, be freaking nice to everyone. So nice. Like that is one thing me and Josh, like, I think it's one of our superpowers. And I don't know if it comes from my Midwest background of just like learning to be a nice human to people. I don't know, but like we get all kinds of crap all the time. And it's because we're nice people. Like we are kind to everyone. And we're especially kind to people who are not kind to us. Like someone you go up to, like Josh was just telling me this morning, he checked into his flight because he's on his way and he went up to the, front desk and he's like, oh yeah, the lady was in a mood. And like, he was like, I just like showered her with like kindness and love and lightness. And he said, she just like, was like, you are amazing. Like, what? You are an amazing, and it's just like her energy shifted. So we play this game, like people, wherever you run into people, if they're like in a bad mood, if, like just shower them with love and see what happens. It's like, they'll be taken back. Their energy will instantly shift. So anyways, that's just a fun game we play. And also with that, we are always like getting free desserts. I don't even eat dessert. But we're always getting like free desserts. Like people just bring us stuff, give us stuff. Like I said, I was upgraded to a Mercedes. He was upgraded to first class, business class today. Like that was the first time that's ever happened. That was super fun. But like with that lady, right? She's like, oh, there's extra seats up there and he didn't even have to pay, right? That one we have never experienced before, but it was a fun celebration. So, right, what you give, you get back. So even if you're like, give kindness, you will get kindness. Give love. And this is why in business, always, always, always give more than you're compensated for. You will never have to worry about money if that's the case. Always give more than you're compensated for. So that's why
always over deliver in everything that I do. And it's not even in my paid programs. I over deliver in free trainings, as you all can probably see, right? Like I love to over deliver. I want to help you so much, right? And so if you do that, you will always have a return. You never have to worry, right? So like, I always think about whenever I'm pricing things, what's the actual value of this? And then I charge 10% of what that is. So if I'm like, this for sure could be $30,000 or worth $30,000, like hands down, I know for sure they're going to get $30,000 worth of value. I will charge $3,000 for it. Right? If I'm like, I know for sure they're going to get $100,000 worth of value out of this container, I will charge $10,000 for it. That's how I price my services, and it works. I never really have to worry about it being super hard to, sell or get people in or make people happy. Like people are surprised and delighted always. So that's a really, really great way for you all to think about charging and think about giving, right? And even like, don't just think about it in terms of what you're being, like I said, compensated for, but like in your free trainings, if you do a webinar, if you have a meeting with someone, like go all in, just go all in on everything you do. And that doesn't mean be a perfectionist. It doesn't mean you have to do it right or perfect. I'm talking about having the intention of giving everything you've got, really helping the person in front of you. So for me, I'm not worried about me memorizing everything that I want to say here. I mean, shoot, with this training, I wrote the content the day of. Like I'm in the morning, I'm writing the content. It's not like I have this all planned and prepped and perfect and like, I'm going over everything and making sure that I get every word, because that's not my intention. My intention is let me come on here and just share what's going to help you most. Like what is going to move the needle forward for you the most, right? So of course, there's always a return. And I also want to share this. Like I said, it is the cumulative effect. It's the compound effect of what you are giving. So whenever it comes to compensation and money, it doesn't mean it's going to be immediate. It's not like you're going to the farmer's market and you're like, I want an apple, here's $2, right? And I'm going to get that exchange right there, right then. This is the thing. And I think once we understand this, it makes it so helpful is that there is lag time whenever it comes to business. There can be. Sometimes it's immediate, but most of the time there's some lag time, especially your first year of business. Y'all know this, right? Because you have to like give and give and give and give and put it out. It's almost like you're filling up your giving tank. Like it's almost like if you think of a bucket, right? And like what you give, right? Then there's overflow to that. Well, in the beginning, when you're starting something new, you kind of have to fill the bucket before there's overflow. So you kind of have to think of giving, but you have to know that it will create overflow. It really will. And then it's like year 2, it's a lot easier because you're not putting in so much into the bucket, but you'll get more of a return. That's why it kind of like has this compound effect, right? Does that make sense? That scenario, or not even a bucket, but like a cup or something, right? You'll get overflow. So yeah, if you want to make money, just go give and you will be compensated for it. So just think of it as it's the compound effect. It's the compound effect. So let me just keep doing it. That's why we can't have attachment to any one thing we're giving. It's not like, oh, I put this really great post out. Only 5 people liked it. Only 2 people liked it. It's like, no, you're giving it energetically, putting it out into the world. Now go focus on the next thing you're giving. Focus on the next thing you're giving. Focus on the next thing you're giving, and you'll just start seeing money come in. All right. Makes sense, y'all? Oh my gosh, you're from Michigan too, Aisha. I was born in Michigan. All my extended family lives there, and I love Michigan. I went to college in Michigan. Oh my gosh, Ashley, that's fun. Yes. I was from the west side of, I was actually born in Marquette, Upper Michigan, where it's really cold, which is probably why I live in Hawaii now, because I got traumatized as a baby. I would say that. But yeah, my family lives in Cadillac and Grand Rapids and all over there. Yes, so good. Lansing, that's fun. Then I grew up in St. Louis. So, oh my gosh, I love it. So good. All my Michigan friends. That is crazy. Wait. I love it. So good. Oh, from Kansas City. Yeah. Awesome. Look at all my Midwest friends over here. This is so fun. Okay. So that's the law of giving and receiving. So let me see. Oh, I wanted to also mention how you can use this law in your favor in business. So I touched on a lot of it, which is like letting go of perfectionism. Like, don't be attached to anything being perfect. Just put your all into it. Give from your heart, let it go. And once you let it go, let it release. Let it like have its own energy and do its own thing without attachment to like what's coming back, but focus on the next thing you're giving. So if you just focus on continuously giving your all, whatever that is, however you do business, right? You will get a return. You will. Okay. Oh, also, yes, whenever you invest in a program. So I'll tell you how I have made so much money from programs that I've done. I mean, I share on my website, my first coach that I hired, I literally sold my car to pay for her because I really wanted to work with her and I knew it would make a difference. So when we're in business, we can't not have a coach. All right. Like just, that's a fact. That's a circumstance. But I didn't have the funds like I did. And I wanted to take it from my business, but I wasn't making the funds yet or anything like that. So I sold my car and I was like, well, we'll move down to a 1-car household. So I sold my Prius and paid, I think it was $7,000 or $8,000 that I got. It was like the exact amount I needed to pay for her. And started working with her. And within 1 year from then, because my thought was, right, if you use the law of compensation is I am going to show up to this container as if I paid 10 times as much for it. Right. So instead of like, if I paid 8,000 for it, I was like, let me pretend I paid 80,000. I would never miss a call. I'm going to do everything she tells me to do. I'm going to try it out. I'm going to do any kind of like worksheets or anything like that, because you will get back from a program what you give to it. Right. So it makes a huge difference. You can get a 10x return on anything that you do that's aligned, right? That, like, you're like, yes, this is aligned for me. This is something that I want to do. So that's one really great way in business to always make sure you're getting a return on your investments. And then, whenever you show up in business, just show up and give your all, like over deliver. You will always get a return. You just will. It's the universal law.
Hey, thanks for listening. I hope this episode is something that you'll be able to add to your manifestation toolbox to come back to when you need a little extra motivation. If you like what you've heard today and want to take it deeper, you've got to come check out my signature coaching program, the Money Manifestation Movement. It's the place where you'll not only learn manifestation, but you'll begin to live it alongside me and an amazing community of like-minded entrepreneurs doing this work together. Head on over to jamieberman.com to learn more.